Stop! Stop right there! The scream rips through the quiet suburban morning like a siren, panicked and self-righteous, loud enough to make joggers stop mid-stride and neighbors look out their windows. You are not a real firefighter. I'm calling the police. You stole that truck. 36-year-old Captain James Williams sits in the driver's seat of Engine 47, one hand on the wheel, the other reaching for the air horn, staring through the windshield at the BMW X5 that just deliberately pulled out in front of his fire truck and stopped, blocking the entire residential street. Behind him, the rest of his crew, 4 firefighters in full turnout gear, are equally stunned. Around them, the suburban neighborhood continues its Saturday morning routine. Kids on bikes, people walking dogs, the smell of someone grilling despite it being 10 a.m. The perfect picture of upper-middle-class comfort. And blocking their emergency response is a white woman in her early 50s, climbing out of her BMW wearing $300 Lululemon gear and designer sunglasses, her face twisted with fury and righteous indignation, her phone out and recording as she marches toward the fire truck, like she's caught a criminal in the act. James hits the air horn. The blast is deafening, designed to clear intersections, to warn people of emergency vehicles, to communicate "move now" in a way that transcends language. The woman doesn't move, just stands in the middle of the street, 15 feet in front of the fire truck, recording with one hand and pointing with the other. I'm not moving. You can honk all you want. I know what you're doing. You stole that fire truck. You're dressed up like a firefighter, but I know you're not. Real firefighters don't look like you. I'm calling 911 right now. The real police are coming. James feels the familiar burn, the exhausting, infuriating burn of racism so blatant, so aggressive, so confident in itself that it blocks emergency services during an active fire. He's been a firefighter for 15 years, captain for 5, has saved dozens of lives, has run into burning buildings while others ran out, has earned every bit of respect his rank deserves. And this woman looked at him, black man in full firefighter gear, in an actual fire truck with lights and sirens, and decided he must be a criminal, must have stolen the truck, must be impersonating a firefighter, because in her world black people don't serve, don't save, don't have authority, just commit crimes. Ma'am, I am Captain Williams with the City Fire Department. This is Engine 47. We are responding to a structure fire emergency with possible trapped civilians. You are obstructing emergency services, which is a felony. Move your vehicle immediately, or you will be arrested. James keeps his voice calm, authoritative, the tone he's used 1,000 times in emergencies. Liar! I know what real firefighters look like. They don't look like you. You're probably trying to rob houses, using that stolen truck to get access to the neighborhood. Well, I'm not falling for it. I'm protecting this community. You're not going anywhere until the police verify who you are. Behind the fire truck, Engine 52 pulls up, the second unit responding to the call. Lieutenant Martinez jumps out, sees the blocked street, sees the woman, and his face goes from confused to furious in seconds. What the hell is happening? We have a structure fire. Move that vehicle now. The woman spins toward him. Thank God. A real firefighter. Officer, this man stole a fire truck. He's impersonating. That's Captain Williams. He's my commanding officer. He's been a firefighter for 15 years. What the hell are you doing blocking an emergency response? The woman's face flickers with confusion, but she recovers fast. He's lying to you, too, or you're all in on it. I don't care what you say he is. I know what I see, and I see a criminal in a stolen fire truck. I'm not moving until the fire is at your mother's house, Martinez shouts, his voice cracking with urgency and disbelief. The structure fire we're responding to. It's at street name, your mother's address. She called 911 4 minutes ago saying she couldn't breathe, couldn't find the door, needed immediate rescue, and you're blocking the captain who's trying to save her. The world stops. The woman's face freezes. Her mouth opens, but no sound comes out. Her phone slips slightly in her hand, and James watches as the realization hits her, watches the exact moment she understands what she just did. What? It comes out as a whisper, barely audible over the idling fire truck engines. Your mother. The emergency. It's her house. And you just delayed our response by 5 minutes because you assumed a black man couldn't be a firefighter. 5 minutes in a structure fire. Do you understand what that means? The woman turns, looks down the street, and for the first time really sees the smoke. Thick, dark smoke rising 3 blocks away, billowing black against the blue morning sky, from the direction of her mother's house, from the address where her 78-year-old mother lives alone, where she visits every morning, where she was headed after yoga class. Oh my God! The phone drops from her hand, clatters on the asphalt. Oh my God, no, that's my mom, that's my mom! Move! Get out of the way! You have to save her! Hurry! James feels something cold and hard settle in his chest. Not satisfaction, not vindication. Just the grim knowledge that this woman's racism just cost her own mother critical response time. That the 5 minutes she spent blocking him, the person trained to save her mother, might be the difference between rescue and tragedy. We would already be there, James says quietly, his voice cutting through her rising hysteria. If you hadn't blocked us, if you hadn't assumed I was a criminal because I'm black, if you hadn't valued your racism more than emergency response, radios ahead, Engine 47 to dispatch. Be advised we have a 5-minute delay due to civilian obstruction of emergency services. Structure fire is now 7 minutes post-dispatch, requesting additional units, ladder truck, and ambulance. Civilian interference has compromised response time. Copy? Copy, Engine 47. Additional units en route. Be safe. 5 minutes. In a structure fire with possible trapped civilians, 5 minutes is an eternity. 5 minutes is the difference between a rescue and a recovery, between saving someone and pulling out a body, between controlled fire and full structural collapse. And this woman, this racist, self-righteous woman, just gave her mother's fire an extra 5 minutes to spread, to fill the house with toxic smoke, to consume oxygen and create deadly conditions, all because she couldn't accept that a black man could wear a badge and save lives. James puts the truck in gear. Martinez physically moves the woman aside. She's collapsed now, on her knees in the street, screaming for them to hurry, to save her mother, crying and begging. The same mouth that called James a criminal 2 minutes ago is now begging him to save her mother. The trucks race past her, sirens blaring. Every second matters now. Every moment of delay she caused might have cost a life. Behind them, the woman scrambles to her feet, jumps in her BMW, follows the fire trucks, still screaming, still crying, the reality of what she did crashing down on her. And James focuses on the job, on the structure fire ahead, on the elderly woman possibly trapped inside, on doing everything in his power to save a life, despite being called a thug and a criminal by the victim's own daughter. Because that's what firefighters do. They save everyone, even the people whose families try to stop them. But what the woman blocking the street doesn't know yet, what she's about to discover in the most devastating way possible, is that her 5-minute delay didn't just slow response time, it fundamentally changed what was possible. When the 911 call came in at 9:47 a.m., her mother was conscious, mobile, reporting smoke but still able to move. A 3-minute response time would have meant arriving while she could still be guided out. Maybe didn't even need rescue, just direction through the smoke. But now, 7 minutes post-dispatch, the smoke has filled the entire first floor. Visibility is 0. Heat is climbing. Her mother isn't answering when dispatch tries to call back, isn't at the windows, isn't visible anywhere. She's either unconscious from smoke inhalation or already beyond help. And the woman who blocked the fire truck is about to learn that her racism didn't just delay rescue, it might have killed her own mother. This is the story of how racism blocks emergency services. How assumptions about who can hold authority cost lives, sometimes the lives of people the racist claims to love. And how the firefighter who got called a criminal still ran into a burning building and did everything possible to save the woman whose daughter tried to stop him. The neighborhood is called Fairfield Estates. Developed in the 1990s, large homes on quarter-acre lots, tree-lined streets, Homeowners Association with strict rules about lawn maintenance and exterior colors. The kind of place where property values matter, where everyone knows everyone, where the annual block party is a major event. It's 87% white. The remaining 13% are mostly Asian families. Doctors, engineers, tech professionals. One black family moved in 5 years ago and moved out after 18 months of incidents. Police called on their teenage son repeatedly. HOA violations for things white neighbors do without consequence, cold shoulders at community events. The neighborhood has a Facebook group, a very active Facebook group, where people post about suspicious activity, which almost always means, I saw someone who isn't white in the neighborhood and I'm concerned. Delivery drivers, landscaping crews, contractors, service workers. Anyone not white gets reported, photographed, sometimes confronted. The woman blocking the fire truck, her name is Carol Henderson, is one of the most active members of that Facebook group. Posts multiple times per week about suspicious vehicles and people who don't belong. Has called police 17 times in the past 2 years. 17 times. All on people of color doing completely legal activities in the neighborhood. She sees herself as a protector, a guardian, someone keeping her community safe. In reality, she's a racist with too much time and a persecution complex who weaponizes police and creates danger where none exists. Her mother, Patricia Henderson, 78 years old, lives 3 blocks away, widowed for 6 years, independent but aging. Carol visits daily, brings groceries, checks medications, helps with housework. They're close. Carol is fiercely protective of her mother, which makes what just happened even more twisted. Carol's instinct to protect her neighborhood from a black firefighter just endangered the person she loves most in the world. This morning started like every Saturday. Carol woke up at 7 a.m., did yoga at home using an app, showered, got dressed in her expensive athleisure, the uniform of wealthy suburban women with too much time. Planned to stop by her mother's house at 10 a.m. like she does every Saturday. Headed out at 9:45. Drove through the neighborhood admiring the fall colors, mentally noting which lawns needed mowing, HOA violations to report, which houses had trash cans still out, also violations. Then she saw it, a fire truck racing through the neighborhood, lights, sirens, moving fast, and she saw the driver, black man, younger than she expected, and her racist brain made a calculation, black plus emergency vehicle, must be stolen. Never mind the lights and sirens, never mind the full crew in the back, never mind the radio chatter, never mind common sense. She saw a black man in a position of authority, and her racism overrode everything else. So she pulled out in front of the fire truck, blocked it, called the driver a criminal, demanded he be arrested, created a scene, wasted 5 minutes, all while her mother's house filled with smoke 3 blocks away. Captain James Williams has been a firefighter since he was 21, 15 years. Started as a probie, worked his way up through determination and excellence, became an engineer, then lieutenant, then captain at 31, one of the youngest in department history. He's run into over 300 structure fires, saved 47 lives directly, performed CPR countless times, been burned, cut, injured, hospitalized twice. Has medals and commendations covering his office wall, is respected by everyone in the department, is known for staying calm under pressure and making quick, life-saving decisions. And he still gets treated like a criminal, still gets questioned, still has people assume he stole his uniform or doesn't belong, still faces racism in the middle of doing his job. Last year, a woman called 911 claiming a suspicious black man was breaking into a house. James was conducting a fire safety inspection with the homeowner's full permission and participation, spent 30 minutes being questioned by police while the homeowner frantically explained he was invited. 3 months ago, a man at a restaurant asked if James was a real firefighter or just wearing the costume for attention. James was in full uniform, just off shift, getting dinner. 6 weeks ago, a city council member questioned his qualifications during a budget meeting, suggested maybe he was promoted due to diversity initiatives rather than merit, in front of the entire department. James had to sit there while his professionalism was questioned because someone couldn't accept that a black man earned his rank. And now a woman blocked his fire truck during an active emergency, called him a criminal, tried to get him arrested, all while her own mother suffocated in a burning house. James has developed a thick skin, has learned to swallow rage, has mastered staying calm and professional in the face of blatant racism. Because getting angry, responding emotionally, just confirms stereotypes, just gives racists ammunition, just makes everything worse. But this is different. This woman's racism didn't just insult him. It endangered a civilian, compromised emergency response, potentially killed someone. And not just anyone, her own mother. The fire truck screams down the residential streets. 3 blocks. Takes 90 seconds at emergency speed. Should have taken that same 90 seconds 7 minutes ago when they first got dispatched. But it didn't, because Carol Henderson blocked them for 5 minutes. 5 minutes her mother didn't have. The house comes into view. Single-story ranch. 1990s construction. Well-maintained. Nice lawn. Flowers in the beds. The kind of house that shows care and pride of ownership. And it's fully involved. Flames visible through 2 windows, heavy smoke pouring from the eaves, the roof structure sagging slightly, sign of potential collapse. 7 minutes of unchecked fire has done massive damage. James pulls up. His crew is already moving before the truck stops. Practice choreography they've done hundreds of times. Martinez's crew pulls up behind, already preparing their attack line. Primary search. Martinez hit it from the B side. Henderson, get the ladder to that window. Chang, you're with me on primary. James is moving, thinking, assessing. The house layout. Probably 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, kitchen, living room. Standard ranch configuration. Where would an elderly woman be at 10 a.m. on Saturday? Dispatch said she called from living room, said she couldn't see the door. Henderson calls out, pulling equipment. Living room. That's front of house. Should be accessible. Should be. An explosion of glass as a window blows out from heat. Flames reach out like hands. The fire is hotter than it should be at this stage. Something inside is feeding it. Maybe kitchen fire that spread. Maybe electrical. Doesn't matter. What matters is getting inside. Finding the victim. Getting her out. James pulls on his SCBA, self-contained breathing apparatus, mask, air tank, checks his buddy's gear. They check his, move to the door. Wait! Wait! My mom is in there! You have to save her! Please! Carol Henderson has arrived, abandoning her BMW in the middle of the street, running toward the fire, her face a mask of terror and desperation. A police officer, arrived with the fire trucks, catches her, holds her back. Ma'am, let them work. They're doing everything they can. You don't understand! She's in there! My mom! Please, please save her! James hears this. Here's the same woman who called him a criminal now begging him to save her mother, and he feels nothing but focus. The job, the mission, the civilian who needs rescue. He doesn't do this for Carol Henderson. He does this for Patricia Henderson, the 78-year-old woman who didn't choose to have a racist daughter, who didn't choose to be in a burning house, who deserves rescue regardless of her daughter's actions. Fire department, call out! James is inside now. The heat is crushing, even through his gear. The smoke is thick, 0 visibility. He's navigating by feel and memory and training. Where would she be? Fire department! Ma'am, call out if you can hear me! Nothing. Just the roar of fire. The crack of burning wood. The sinister hiss of water turning to steam as Martinez's crew hits the flames from outside. James sweeps low. Standard search pattern, thermal imaging camera in one hand. Can see through smoke, find heat signatures of people. Sweeping the living room. There. Heat signature. Person-sized. On the floor near the couch. Not moving. I've got her. Living room, floor level, unresponsive. James moves fast. Reaches the victim. Patricia Henderson. Unconscious. Not breathing. Skin pale. Smoke inhalation. James hooks her under the arms. Drags. Fast but careful. Don't know if she has injuries, but getting her out is priority 1. She's not breathing. That means seconds matter even more than normal. Coming out! Victim located, unconscious, not breathing, need medic at front door now! James reaches the door, breaks out into daylight and smoke and chaos. Paramedics are ready. Take Patricia immediately. Start CPR. Oxygen, defibrillator ready if needed. James stands there for a moment, still masked, still in gear, watching the medics work, watching Carol Henderson screaming, trying to get to her mother, being held back by police. He pulls off his mask, catches his breath. His lieutenant approaches. You okay, Cap? Yeah. She was down about 40 seconds. No pulse. Medics have her. That delay, the 5 minutes that woman cost us, I know. James doesn't need to finish the thought. They both know. 5 minutes earlier, Patricia would have been conscious, mobile, could have walked out. 5 minutes earlier, this would have been a rescue instead of a recovery attempt. 5 minutes earlier, she'd be scared but fine instead of fighting for her life. The paramedics work, chest compressions, oxygen. One of them looks up. We've got a pulse, weak but there, loading her now. Patricia Henderson is alive, barely, unconscious, smoke inhalation, possible brain damage from oxygen deprivation, burns on her arms and legs, but alive. The ambulance races away. Carol tries to follow. The police officer stops her. Ma'am, you can't leave. We need to talk to you about obstructing emergency services. What? My mother is in that ambulance. I need to go with her. You delayed rescue response by 5 minutes. That's a felony. You're being detained. The reality crashes down on Carol like a physical weight. She staggers, would collapse if the officer wasn't holding her. I was trying to protect the neighborhood. You thought a firefighter was a criminal because he's black, and you blocked his emergency response, and now your mother is fighting for her life because of that delay. James walks over. Should feel vindicated, should feel satisfaction, should feel something other than this hollow exhaustion. Ma'am, your mother is stable for now. The medics are taking her to Memorial Hospital. She has severe smoke inhalation. The next 24 hours are critical. If she survives, she'll likely have permanent lung damage. That's directly related to smoke exposure time. The extra 5 minutes you cost us? That's 5 minutes of additional smoke damage. That's the difference between recovery and disability. Carol looks at him, really sees him for the first time. Not as a criminal, not as a thug, as the firefighter who just saved her mother's life, as the man she tried to stop from doing exactly that. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I thought you thought I was a criminal because I'm black. You thought a black man couldn't be a firefighter. You thought your racism was more important than emergency response, and your mother paid the price for those thoughts. James walks away, back to his crew, back to the fire. Still burning, still needs to be fully extinguished. Back to the job. Carol stands there with the police officer, watches the firefighters work, watches the black captain she called a thug lead his crew, watches them save what's left of her mother's house, and understands with perfect, devastating clarity that she almost killed her own mother because she couldn't see past her prejudice. That the person she tried to stop was the only person who could save her mom, that her racism had real, terrible consequences. The house is a total loss. The 5-minute delay meant the fire spread too far. Roof collapsed in 2 sections. Structure is compromised, dangerous. Will have to be demolished. If firefighters had arrived 5 minutes earlier, if Carol hadn't blocked them, the fire would have been contained to the kitchen. Maybe $50,000 in damage. Fixable. Her mother's home could have been saved. Instead, total loss. $400,000 house destroyed. Everything inside gone. Photos, heirlooms, a lifetime of possessions. All because Carol blocked the fire truck. The police arrest her. Obstruction of emergency services. Felony. Up to 5 years in prison. $10,000 fine. She's crying, begging. Please, I need to see my mother. I need to be at the hospital. Please. You should have thought about that before you blocked emergency services. You'll be processed and bail will be set. Then you can see your mother, if she's still alive. Carol is led away in handcuffs, put in the back of a police cruiser, taken to jail, booked, photographed, fingerprinted. The whole process. while her mother fights for her life in the ICU, alone, because her daughter is in jail for the racism that almost killed her. The video goes viral within hours. Multiple neighbors recorded it. Carol blocking the fire truck, her confrontation with James, her screaming accusations, the firefighters trying to make her understand, her realization that it's her mother's house, her collapse. It's everywhere. Woman blocks fire truck because driver is black. It's her mother's house burning is the headline on every news site. The responses are immediate and brutal. She literally chose racism over her own mother's life. That's how deep this poison goes. The firefighter she called a criminal saved her mother anyway. That's the difference between them. 5 minutes. That's what her racism cost. 5 minutes that might leave her mother disabled for life. Imagine being that black firefighter, being called a thug, then having to run into a burning building to save the racist's mother, and doing it anyway. That's heroism. She should be charged with attempted murder. Her actions directly endangered her mother's life. The story spreads, makes national news. James's face is everywhere. The calm, professional firefighter who stayed focused despite being racially profiled during an emergency. Carol's face is everywhere too. The racist who blocked emergency services and endangered her own mother. Her life unravels publicly, spectacularly. Everyone in her neighborhood sees it. Her Facebook group explodes with people condemning her. Her friends distance themselves. Her church asks her to stop attending. Her country club revokes her membership. And her mother, Patricia Henderson, survives, but barely. She's in intensive care for 9 days, severe smoke inhalation, lung damage, burns. The doctors are clear. The extended smoke exposure caused permanent damage. She'll need supplemental oxygen for the rest of her life. Her lung capacity is permanently reduced by 40%. She'll never fully recover. When Patricia is finally conscious and stable enough to understand what happened, the doctors tell her about the fire, the rescue, the fact that her daughter blocked the fire truck for 5 minutes. Patricia's response, "Get her out of my room, I don't want to see her." Carol tries to visit, brings flowers, brings apologies, brings tears. Her mother won't see her. "You almost killed me because you're a racist. You valued your prejudice more than my life. Get out. Mom, please. I didn't know. I thought I was protecting." "Get out." The nurse escorts Carol from the room. Hospital security is called. She's banned from visiting without Patricia's explicit consent. Patricia learns who saved her, learns it was Captain James Williams, the black firefighter her daughter called a criminal, the man who ran into her burning house despite being delayed and insulted, the man who carried her out and gave her a chance at life. She asks to meet him. James visits her in the hospital, still in his uniform, coming off shift, tired but willing. "Captain Williams, thank you for saving my life." "Ma'am, that's my job. I'm glad you're recovering." "My daughter, what she did, I'm so sorry. I raised her better than that. Or I thought I did. I don't know where the racism came from, but I'm horrified. She blocked you, called you a criminal, and you saved me anyway." James sits down. "Mrs. Henderson, I've been a firefighter for 15 years. This isn't the first time someone's questioned my legitimacy because of my race. It's exhausting. It's infuriating. But it's part of the job. I save everyone, regardless of their beliefs or their family's beliefs. That's the oath I took. But she almost killed me, her own mother, because she couldn't see past your skin color. Yes, and that's something she has to live with, not me. I did my job. Your daughter's racism is her burden, not mine." Patricia tears up. "I don't know if I can forgive her. She chose prejudice over my safety. What kind of person does that? Someone who's been taught that people like me are threats instead of helpers. Someone who's been told black men are dangerous instead of capable. Someone who believed those lies more than she trusted emergency services. That's not an excuse. No, it's not. It's an explanation. But the consequences are hers to face." James leaves. Patricia stays in the hospital, and Carol sits in jail waiting for her bail hearing, knowing her mother won't see her, knowing she destroyed their relationship along with her mother's house and health. The legal proceedings move forward. Carol is charged with felony obstruction of emergency services. The district attorney adds additional charges: reckless endangerment, filing a false report. She told 911 the firefighter stole the truck. Her lawyer argues she made an honest mistake, was protecting her neighborhood, didn't understand the consequences, asks for leniency. The prosecutor shows the video, shows Carol's Facebook history, 17 police calls on people of color in 2 years, shows her pattern of racial profiling, shows that this wasn't a mistake. It was racism with deadly consequences. This woman saw a black firefighter and immediately assumed criminality. She blocked an emergency vehicle during an active rescue. She endangered her own mother because racism was more important to her than her mother's safety. And now her mother has permanent disability as a direct result. There is no leniency for this. The judge reviews everything: the video, the medical reports showing Patricia's permanent lung damage, the fire department's testimony about how the 5-minute delay changed the response, James's calm, professional account of being called a criminal while trying to save a life. Ms. Henderson, you committed a terrible crime driven by racial prejudice. You endangered not just your mother, but the firefighters who had to respond to a more dangerous fire because of your delay. You weaponized emergency services against a public servant doing his job, and you show pattern of using police and 911 to target people of color. This court sentences you to 3 years in state prison for obstruction of emergency services, with credit for time served. Additionally, you are ordered to pay full restitution for fire department costs, medical expenses, and property damage. You will complete mandatory anti-racism education, and you are permanently banned from making non-emergency calls to police without severe penalty. 3 years. Not a light sentence, not a slap on the wrist. Real consequences for real harm. Carol serves her sentence. Her mother never visits, never writes, cuts her out completely. When Carol is released, she tries to rebuild her life, but the video follows her. Potential employers Google her name and find the story. Landlords reject her applications. Her old friends won't return calls. She's become a cautionary tale. The woman whose racism almost killed her own mother. The woman who blocked a fire truck. The woman who chose prejudice over her family. And Captain James Williams? He continues his career, gets promoted to battalion chief, continues saving lives, continues being excellent at his job despite facing racism constantly. The incident becomes a training example in fire academies. This is what obstruction looks like. This is why seconds matter. This is why we stay professional even when civilians don't. James gives talks at community events about implicit bias and emergency services, about how assumptions endanger everyone, about how he's still questioned, still doubted, still has to prove himself despite 15 years of excellence. That day, a woman blocked my fire truck because she assumed I was a criminal. It was her mother's house burning. Her actions nearly killed her own family member, but I saved her mother anyway. Not because the mother deserved it or the daughter deserved it, but because that's the job. That's the oath. I save everyone. But here's what I want you to understand. I shouldn't have to be a hero to be believed. I shouldn't have to prove I'm not a criminal while responding to emergencies. The uniform should be enough. The fire truck should be enough. My credentials should be enough. The fact that they're not, that people see my skin before they see my badge, that's the problem we need to fix. Not by making me prove myself over and over, but by addressing the racism that makes people assume black public servants must be frauds. 5 years after the incident, James is interviewed for a documentary about racism in public service. That day changed a lot of things. The woman who blocked me went to prison, lost her relationship with her mother, became infamous. Some people think that's justice. But the truth is, it didn't change the fundamental problem. I still get questioned. Still have people assume I'm not qualified. Still face racism in the middle of doing my job. That woman was just the most extreme example. But she's not unique. Last month, a man asked to see my credentials before he'd let me enter his burning garage. Wanted proof I was a real firefighter. While his garage burned, that's 3 years after the viral video, after the national conversation, and it still happens. So what's the lesson? Document everything. Stay professional. Do the job despite the racism, and hope that eventually enough incidents like mine create enough outrage that the system changes. But in the meantime, I still save everyone, even the people who call me a criminal, even the people who block my truck, even the people whose racism endangers their own families, because that's what firefighters do. We run toward danger while others run away. We save lives regardless of whether those lives value ours. That's not heroism, that's just the job. And I'm damn good at it. The documentary airs, sparks more conversation, more awareness. Slowly, very slowly, attitudes begin shifting. Fire departments implement new training about implicit bias. Police departments create protocols for emergency vehicle obstruction. Laws get passed making it a federal crime to obstruct emergency services based on the race of the responders. Carol Henderson is interviewed from prison for the same documentary. She's different now, broken, remorseful, maybe genuinely changed or maybe just performing again. Hard to tell. I destroyed my life, destroyed my relationship with my mother, almost killed her, all because I couldn't see past my racism, because I assumed a black man in a firefighter uniform must be a criminal. I don't expect forgiveness, don't deserve it, but I want people to learn from my mistake, to understand that racism has real consequences, that assumptions kill people, that when you see someone in uniform, their skin color shouldn't matter. Their job matters. Their expertise matters. Captain Williams saved my mother despite everything I did. He's a better person than I'll ever be, and I have to live with that knowledge for the rest of my life. The interview doesn't redeem her, doesn't fix what she broke, just serves as a warning. This is what racism looks like. This is what it costs. This is the damage it does to everyone, including the racists themselves. 10 years after the incident, Patricia Henderson is still alive, still using supplemental oxygen, still dealing with reduced lung capacity, still living with the permanent consequences of her daughter's racism. She's rebuilt her life in a smaller house, has new friends, volunteers at a community center, advocates for emergency service funding, speaks publicly about what happened. My daughter almost killed me because she's a racist. That's the truth. Hard to say out loud, but true. She saw a black firefighter and assumed criminality, and I paid the price. I don't have a relationship with her anymore. Can't. Every time I struggle to breathe, I remember that she caused this, that her racism damaged my lungs, that she valued her prejudice more than my life. But I'm grateful to Captain Williams. He saved me despite being insulted and delayed. He did his job with professionalism and courage. He's the reason I'm alive to tell this story. So here's my message. Examine your biases. Challenge your assumptions. Because racism doesn't just hurt the people you're prejudiced against. It hurts everyone, including the people you claim to love. Patricia becomes an advocate, works with fire departments on community education, tells her story at schools and community centers, becomes friends with James, not close, but respectful, united by the incident that changed both their lives. James continues his career, retires after 25 years as a battalion chief, decorated, respected, having saved over 100 lives directly, having mentored dozens of young firefighters, having changed policies and attitudes through his example, but still carrying the weight of knowing he has to be twice as good to be seen as half as qualified, still knowing that tomorrow someone might see his skin before they see his badge, still knowing that racism in emergency services costs lives. The woman who blocked his fire truck serves as a permanent reminder of how deep prejudice goes, of how it overrides even basic survival instinct, of how it costs everyone, the victims, the racists, and everyone caught in between. Carol Henderson blocked a fire truck because the driver was black. Her mother's house burned. Her mother nearly died. Their relationship ended. Carol went to prison. The firefighter she called a criminal saved her mother anyway. That's not a story with winners, just survivors, just people living with consequences of racism that should never have existed in the first place. And somewhere right now, another black firefighter is being questioned. Another public servant of color is having their credentials doubted. Another emergency responder is facing racism while trying to save lives. The work continues. The fight continues. The exhausting necessary work of proving over and over that competence has no color, that badges and uniforms mean something, that emergency services deserve respect regardless of who's driving the truck. James's last day on the job, 25 years after he started, a young black firefighter approaches him, fresh out of academy, nervous, seeking advice. "Captain Williams, I just wanted to say, you're the reason I became a firefighter. I saw your story, saw how you stayed professional despite everything, saw how you saved that woman's mother even after being called a criminal. And I thought, if he can do that, maybe I can too." James looks at this young firefighter, sees himself 25 years ago, young, idealistic, not yet worn down by racism, not yet exhausted by constantly proving himself. "You can," James says. "You'll face challenges I've faced, racism, doubt, people questioning your credentials. It's exhausting, it's wrong, but you can do it. Just remember, be excellent. Stay professional, do the job, and don't let their racism make you doubt your capabilities." "Yes, sir. And one more thing. Always have your camera running. Document everything, because your word alone might not be enough. Evidence protects you. Remember that." The young firefighter nods, takes the advice, carries it forward, and James retires. Not bitter, not defeated, just tired. Tired of fighting battles that shouldn't exist. Tired of proving himself. Tired of being excellent in the face of assumptions. But proud. Proud of the lives saved. Proud of the example set. Proud of the young firefighters following his path. Proud that his story, painful as it was, created change. The woman who blocked his fire truck thought she was protecting her neighborhood. Instead, she nearly killed her mother and became a symbol of how racism endangers everyone. The firefighter she called a criminal became a hero, saved her mother, changed policies, inspired a generation, proved that excellence transcends prejudice. One person's racism created tragedy. Another person's professionalism created legacy. That's the difference. That's the lesson. That's what matters. Carol Henderson blocked a fire truck because she couldn't see past her racism. Captain James Williams saved a life despite being blocked. One went to prison. One became a legend. Racism costs everything. Professionalism saves everyone. That's not just a story. That's reality. Repeated every day in America, in every field, in every community, until we fix it. Until we address the systemic biases that make people assume black professionals must be frauds. Stories like this will keep happening. People will keep blocking fire trucks, keep questioning credentials, keep endangering lives with their assumptions. And professionals like James will keep saving them anyway, despite the racism, despite the obstacles, despite everything, because that's what heroes do. They save everyone, even the people who don't believe they're heroes. Even the people whose racism almost killed their own families. Have you ever witnessed racism that endangered lives? Have you ever seen someone question a professional's credentials based on race? Have you ever blocked or delayed emergency services? Share your story in the comments below. Subscribe to our channel for more stories of professionals who faced discrimination, stayed professional, and saved lives anyway. Because somewhere right now, a black firefighter is being questioned. A person of color in uniform is having their credentials doubted. An emergency responder is facing racism while trying to save lives. And they deserve better. They deserve respect. They deserve to do their jobs without having to prove their humanity first. A woman blocked a fire truck because the driver was black. It was her own mother's house burning. The firefighter she called a criminal saved her mother anyway. Her racism cost her mother permanent disability, cost her 3 years in prison, cost her their relationship. His professionalism saved a life, created change, inspired others, proved that badges and uniforms matter more than skin color. Racism blocks emergency services. Professionalism saves lives. One costs everything, the other saves everyone. Choose wisely. Lives depend on it.